Carter from the Bankhead. Very happy to have Chris here. He serves as Director for Development and Communications at the Bankhead, Livermore Valley Performing Arts Center, which is just at the Bankhead and Bothwell. It's a nonprofit, and he joined the LVPAC in 2014 after working at St. Mary's College for several years, and where he went to school as well. So if you're a St. Mary's graduate, you can talk to him about that. He's a member of the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance. He's an avid guitarist. He performs around the community the last 25 years. And with his bandmate, Mike Lucas, a member of the LK Project. So with that, without going too much further, lives in Pleasanton with his children, and he's very involved, has been very involved with volunteering Boy Scouts in various capacities in the last 10 years. So with that, we welcome Chris, and it's all yours.
Hi everyone. Once again, my name is Chris Carter. I have a quick question. Who's been to the Bankhead Theater? Crap. So I don't really need to talk that much about the Bankhead, do I? No, I'll say a few things. And who's been to the Bothwell Arts Center? I was told that this group helped with the big paper mache dragon in the Bothwell. Is that true? Awesome. Thank you guys. It's a really cool piece. A couple of quick things before I start. So I am the development director of the Bankhead Theater, which means I'm the fundraiser. I'm not here to ask anybody for money today, but if you are interested in learning about ways to support the theater or the arts in the community, please come and talk to me afterwards. I also want to say, working in the arts has been a lot of fun for the last nearly 5 years. I've learned something new almost every day. In fact, just recently I learned that Vincent van Gogh, before he became an artist, was originally planning on being a musician, but he did not have the ear for it. I'm known for really bad jokes, by the way. Also, I did bring, I don't have very many, but I did bring copies of the season program for this upcoming season, so if you want to grab one, they're at the table here. We'd love to see you come out. I think we're very excited about this coming season. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to tell you a few more things to know about me, because I know some of you, but I don't know all of you. For one, I am like I just said, I'm the director of development here at the Performing Arts Center. I grew up in Texas. Any Texans in the house? A couple? Is it okay? You still want to listen to me? You know I grew up in Texas. I did, well, my family moved to California when I started high school. So I went to Los Gatos High School in the South Bay, and I've been here ever since. I went to St. Mary's College in Moraga. I have 2 degrees in psychology, which makes me a pretty good fundraiser. For some reason, that really helps. I originally, before I got into what I am doing now, I studied to be a Presbyterian minister. I thought that was going to be my path. But life changes sometimes. I live in Pleasanton, and this says, don't ask me about Livermore politics. Since I live in Pleasanton, I don't have an opinion on anything. I am married. I've been married for 18 years. I have 3 children. 2 are in high school, 1's in middle school. A couple other quick things. I do play guitar, and I like to perform. So if you're interested in having a guitarist sometime, please let me know. That's a picture of me and my partner that I play with. And we've been performing together for about 25 years now. I did work at St. Mary's College for the last 11 years. I was the alumni director there. I worked in development. That's where I learned about the development profession. It's a great place to work, a beautiful campus, and a wonderful community to be a part of. I finally got tired of the commute, which is pretty long, and found an opportunity here in Livermore, close to where I live, which I've loved. I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. So there's a picture of me at St. Mary's. We're about to build a building right there. We have my hard hat on. And then I've been volunteering for the Boy Scouts since 2009. Both my sons are in the Boy Scouts. I'm very proud to be a part of that organization and support them. That's me and my 2 sons. at camp this summer. And oh, this is a video, and I don't know how to make it go, but this is my son. This is just last week. We're doing bottle rockets. And I think if you just click on the video, it'll go. And I don't want you to look at my son. I want you to look at this other boy, because I just love this video. Slow motion.
It'd be great.
That's what I love about Scouts. So he was helping a Cub Scout recruit. So I think that boy's going to join. He had a good time. A couple things about the Livermore Valley Performing Arts Center, where I work. We consider ourselves the premier presenting arts center in the Tri-Valley region. And our mission is to offer a broad range of arts opportunities and experiences to engage our diverse community. We don't have a niche or something that we specialize in. A lot of performing arts centers, if you think of like SF Jazz or the ballet or the opera, there's kind of one thing they do. We don't do just one thing, we do everything. We're very eclectic, and we try and provide as much as we can for the community, for everyone of all ages and backgrounds and interests. So you'll see that we do a wide range of arts activities. We are an independent, nonprofit cultural arts organization. So we're a nonprofit. We're independent. We're not owned by any other organization. We run ourselves. So like if you think about the firehouse in Pleasanton is owned by the city of Pleasanton and operated by the city of Pleasanton. There's a lot of performing arts centers are run by universities or colleges or schools. So we're independent of that. We're pretty unique in that there's not many performing arts centers in California that are not owned or operated by a municipality or a school. So we operate the Bankhead Theater. There's a nice picture. You've all been there, so I probably didn't need to include that picture, but you know what it looks like. We also operate the Bothwell Arts Center on 8th Street, which we consider an arts incubator. It's kind of a fun, funky space. There's a lot of arts classes and camps and events and performances that go on there. And we support 9 resident companies. So that's one of the things I like to say is we don't really produce art ourselves. We are a vessel for the arts. So we're a space for the arts, a place for others to come and take advantage of this wonderful space and bring the community to the arts. And so the 9 resident companies, that's actually a pretty high number for a performing arts center. So if you think of Livermore Valley Opera, Pacific Chamber Symphony, Pacific Chamber Orchestra, Livermore Amador Symphony, Valley Dance Theater, those are all Valley Concert Chorale, those are all of our resident companies, and they get to use our spaces at very, very low rates, below market, below nonprofit. We want to make sure they have a space to be able to do the work they do and stay open and bring people to see their art. So that's Livermore Valley Opera a few years ago. And a couple things about the Bankhead Theater. It's 507 seats. We have a visitor center and art gallery, so if you see a sign out front, a little sandwich board that says the visitor center is open, you can go inside. It's open to the public. Most days of the week you can drop in, take a look at all the artwork on the inside. I don't know if you noticed, a couple of years ago we used to have big banners on the front wall there where you walk in and we're promoting performances coming up. One of the changes we made is we put digital screens in the middle so we could use that for promoting performances. And now we have all this great wall space for art. And we do art installations about once every 6 weeks. It's curated by the manager of the Bothwell, Angie Nkola. So it's fun just to come out maybe once a month and just see what's going on and what art we have up at the time. This last exhibit that we just took down was in honor, I don't know if anybody saw it was in honor of the 50th anniversary of the lunar landing. And we had all these incredible photos from all the lunar missions. They were really amazing. There was a couple of big landscapes pictures, and they're all actual photos. And you look at them and you go, wow, is this real? Yes, they are real pictures. It wasn't faked. I'm actually proud of my St. Mary's connection. A lot of those are now going to go on permanent display at St. Mary's College. So it's nice to see that happen. But please come and visit our art gallery. At the Bankhead Theater, you'll have more than 120 performances a year on average. It's about once every 3 days. There's something going on at the Bankhead. If it was up to me, it'd be every day. I just think that space is a great space. When it's empty, it just feels like it's not being used to its potential. So one of these days. And then we have, in addition to the resident companies, we present our own performances. So those are the big touring artists that we bring in. We call those Bankhead Presents. And that's what you'll see this coming season, which is starting in 2 weeks, of all the performers that we have coming in this year. So here's a couple of pictures from ones that we've had in the past. There's the Kingston Trio. Who else is here? Mark Cohn. Vicki Lawrence from Mama's Family. That was a fun show. Tom Rush, just to give you an idea. There's our own council member, Bob Carling, on Dancing with the Tri-Valley Stars. I love that picture of Bob. A couple things about the Bothwell Arts Center. We consider an incubator for the Tri-Valley arts community. We have events and performances there. We have art studios for artists, and they get it at very low rates. So we'd like to provide a space for visual artists as well as performing artists. Classroom space, we do a lot of camps there for kids. Art camps, we do writing camps. We've done animation camps, and video, all sorts of different things. One of my favorite camps that we've done is we have a songwriting camp. And so we have these songwriters that come in, and these kids bring their instruments. And they learn the craft of writing music and writing songs. And they get, at the end of the week, they get to perform on stage at the Bankhead. So it's a pretty special one. Here's a long list of our resident companies. So you can see Cantabella Children's Chorus, Bell Val Fine Arts, Livermore Amador Symphony, Livermore Valley Opera, Pacific Chamber Symphony, Ray DeRose Speaker Series, Sycamore Strings Academy, Tri-Valley Repertory Theater, Valley Concert Chorale, and Valley Dance Theater. So I encourage you to come see all of them. They do great work. It's amazing the talent that we have in this area, and the heart and soul. And they're all nonprofits themselves, and they all have boards, and they all have to raise money, and they all have volunteers, and they do an incredible job with the resources they have. And so we really want them to be successful. Also, the other thing that we're really focused on is education programs. So the last couple of years now, we've had the Livermore Innovation Fair. We feel like Livermore is a great place to showcase the intersection of the arts and the sciences and technology. So we've been doing that for 3 years now. We've had, this last year, we've probably had about 3,000 people attend this. It's a lot of fun. There's exhibits all over the Bankhead Plaza inside. We have speakers. It's a pretty incredible event. We also do cultural events throughout the year, these free events. A lot of them are out on the plaza. This is a picture of Chinese New Year. But we do like Native American Day, Filipino Barrio Festival. All of those events are free to the public. When you hear about them, just come out. They're a lot of fun. They're really amazing. We also have camps and classes, like I talked about. And then school assemblies. We support groups like Livermore Amador Symphony to go into the schools and perform and expose the kids to the arts and teach them about the arts. So we do that every year. We also have a group that we support called the East Bay Jazz All-Stars. If you're looking for a jazz band, we've got a great jazz band for you. And these are high school students. They have to try out to be a part of this band. They're the best high school musicians probably in the Tri-Valley region. And they're directed by Spencer Sussman, who's a professional jazz musician who's toured all over the world. And the idea is it gives them an opportunity to learn the life of a professional musician. We get them real professional gigs. They have to practice for them. They have to bring their own gear. They have to show up. There's a big commitment that goes into it. But then they understand what it takes to be a musician for a living and have it as a career. So it's a great starter for them. And then we just launched a teen theater company called Center Stage East Bay. Just last year, they had their first, or this year, they had their first set of short plays. They do everything themselves. They write their own plays, they direct them, they produce them, they raise their own money, they sell their tickets, they do all the technical work. So that's the idea of same thing, learning what it takes to actually produce something in the arts, and kind of getting exposed to all different sides of that, because there's so many things. If you want to have a career in the arts, that doesn't mean you have to be an artist, right? There's a lot of ways to, if you love the arts, to be involved and support it and learn about it. So that's the idea of this program. And the first launch was really great. It was really nice to see. A couple facts and figures about us. I like to say we're accessible. So last year we served over 31,000 students through classes, camps, assemblies, discounted tickets, free concerts, cultural events, and arts exhibits. We're affordable. Relatively speaking, if you're going to go out for a night to see a concert, the Bankhead Theater is actually a pretty good deal. Tickets start at $20. And then if you're a member or military or a student, you get a great discount as well. We're community centered. So a couple things you should know about us. We are 50% donor funded. That half of our budget comes through fundraising. And even if we sold out every single show to everything that we do, it would not be enough money to keep that theater open. It's a big building. We have a big staff. There's a lot of cost to running a space like that. So we have to fundraise. So we're very dependent on support from the community, and luckily we live in a community that's very supportive, which is why we're able to be as successful as we can. This says home to 8 resident companies. That's a typo. It should be 9. And 40 plus studio artists. We're also professional. So we have a 4-star rating on Charity Navigator. So that's, and then also a GuideStar Gold Seal of Transparency. And those are the two watchdog groups for nonprofits that everybody looks to. And so we have the highest rating on both of those websites. So we really try our best to do things right and to do things according to the law and ethically, and to be transparent in what we do. And so we're very proud to have those ratings. This is a fun chart for me because this is our membership, and it's hard to read these numbers, but starting in 2010 when we first opened, we had about 400 members. And to be a member, you have to make a donation of $125, and it's for a whole household, so it's not just an individual. And then this last year, we ended at 949 at the end of the year. So we're closing in on 1,000. If you're not a member, I'd love for you guys to become a member so we can get to 1,000. I like there was a big jump in 2015. That's the year I started, so I like to say, well, that was good for me. And then it takes a dip, and the next year, that's when our member services manager went on maternity leave, so I like to blame her for that. But to be honest, it's been great to see the growth and the support of the community. I think we're so blessed to have such great community to support what we do. And I was asked to bring up some stories. So, because I heard you guys like stories. Okay. I won't tell any more bad jokes, but so in 2 weeks we have our kickoff to the season, which is our annual gala. And we have it at the Bankhead Theater, and we have this performer who's going to sing with the Livermore Amador Symphony. It's going to be a great, wonderful night. It's our big fundraiser, and it's the biggest night of the year for us. Before we started doing the gala at the Bankhead, for a couple of years, we did an annual event called the Lobster Clam Bake over at Wente. And I don't know if anybody has been to the Lobster Clam Bake. It's a really fun event. My very first year here, they said, hey, we do a lobster clam bake at Wente. And I was thinking, well, why don't we do something at the theater? Because we have a theater, we could do a concert. No. Everybody loves the lobster clam bake. And I wasn't really sure about it. I never planned a lobster clam bake. And I ended up hiring somebody to help us with the event, which was a really bad idea. Because this poor person really struggled throughout the whole year And it was just, I was getting really nervous coming up to the event. I didn't feel like we were ready. And there was a lot of kind of issues going on with the event. Luckily, it went off really well. But behind the scenes, I was like stressing out quite a bit. And we get to the point of the event where our executive director is about to make a big speech. And there's a dance floor in front of the stage. And there's tables around the dance floor. And I'm sitting at one of the tables with our sponsors. And I sit down right before he starts to talk. And my wife whispers to me, "I think there's something wrong with that chair. And you might want to be careful." I said, "Okay, I'll be careful." And right as Scott starts his speech and everybody's really quiet, and my chair is on the dance floor, it collapses, just falls completely apart. And I just went like this on the middle of the dance floor. And so it couldn't have been it's probably like the worst thing that could have happened to me. But it was such a great lesson about, when things like that happen, you just kind of get up and you move on. And but just to have like all these bad things happen, and then of course my chair just falls apart right in the middle of the speech onto the dance floor. I don't know why I wanted to share that story, but it was just something, a learning and growth experience. And after that event, though, was when I said, I don't think the clam bake is quite the right event for us. Let's move it back to the bakehead. And it's been a great success. I hope if people don't have tickets to that event, or if you've never been, I hope you think about coming. It's September 7th, Saturday, September 7th. So we have performers that come to the bankhead all the time. This says weirdest performer request. So one of the things that they do, and one of the nice things about my job is I get to go backstage and meet a lot of these performers and arrange for these meet and greets. They have a contract, which is, this is what I'm going to do and this is how much you're going to pay us. But on top of the contract, they have what's called a rider. And a rider says, here's all the other things I need, so besides what you're going to pay me. So it could be, I need, a certain type of food, or I need you to get this kind of microphone for me, or I need, I want salad for dinner, or I need you to go, get some ginger root for my throat. They have all these weird things. Or you hear the famous story about I want a bowl of green M&Ms, right? So we've never had anybody ask for green M&Ms. But one time we had a performer, in her contract, in the rider, it said she needed a dog to pet. And so we had to find a dog for this singer. And which I thought was such an interesting request. But luckily, we knew one of our patrons has a dog therapy business. And she has therapy dogs. And so her name's Pat, and I called up Pat, and I said, "Pat, I'd love to give you 2 tickets to the show if you want to bring your dog." And she did. She agreed. She brought her dog. And this singer, her name was Storm Large. She's a kind of a jazz rock singer. We have pictures of her on the floor of the green room, just like hugging this dog before the show. And I guess it really helped calm her down before she went out to perform. But I'd never heard anybody ask for a dog to pet. I still haven't seen that since, but that was kind of the strangest request. So if you ever want to know, most of the requests are pretty normal, but that was kind of like the weirdest one we ever had. Now, I wrote weirdest performer. So we've had a lot of performers come through the Bankhead Theater. And the one that struck me as, I don't want to say the weirdest, but the most unusual moments was with David Cassidy when he was at the Bankhead Theater backstage. And it was one of his last performances. And it was interesting because I could tell the band really cared for him and took care of him. But he wouldn't touch anybody, he wouldn't shake your hands or anything. He was afraid of germs. He didn't want you to use people's cameras to take pictures. You had to use one camera, but it was a strange set of interactions, and it was but most of the performers we have, even he was pretty nice. Most of the performers we have are very nice. But if people ask me who was the kind of the strangest one that you had to deal with, I would say David Cassidy. We have been really lucky. Some of the nicest people, by the way, One of them was Timothy B. Schmidt, who was the bass player from the Eagles. Incredibly nice. And then Don Felder, who also came last year as a guitarist in the Eagles, also very nice. Paula Poundstone, the comedian that comes every year, she's amazing. We had one time, she was coming to a show to perform. She was already running late. She gets to the theater and she realized she left her laptop at the Oakland airport. And so we have a woman that on our staff who's our hospitality coordinator that works with these performers. Her name's Pam, and she asked Pam to drive her back to the Oakland airport right before the show to see if she could find her laptop. So Pam drove her all the way back to the airport. She found her laptop at a coffee shop. It was right exactly where she left it. Came back about 15 minutes before the show was about to start and did it perfectly without missing a beat. And then a few weeks later, we got a postcard in the mail from Paula Poundstone with a picture of her cat on the front. And it was addressed to Pam, thanking her for taking her to save her laptop. So we're pretty lucky. A lot of the performers we have are really nice and very authentic. We're kind of in this range where we don't get a lot of, what do you call it, prima donnas or divas or anything like that. We get these artists that are incredibly talented and incredibly grateful to be able to do what they do. So I think it's a special place for that reason. And then this is called Donors Falling Out of the Sky. Just another fun story for me as a fundraiser. We had, when we first started doing our gala a few years ago, we were looking for new sponsors and new people to help out with that. And one of our board members met somebody at a concert somewhere else and just had a name. And she came up to me, she said, "I met this person at a concert. You should probably see if, I think he might be a good supporter, a good donor." And I'm like, "Really? I don't even know who you're talking about." And it turned out he'd been to the theater one time. So I had his address, but I didn't have a phone number, I didn't have an email or anything, so I sent him a letter. And a week later, he emailed me. And he said, "Well, what do you need?" I said, "Well, I'm looking for a sponsor for this event." And I gave him a very small number. And then he said, "Well, tell me what you do. Just send me," and this was all in an email. So I emailed him back. He said, "I just want a paragraph." And then he wrote me back 5 minutes later. He said, "Okay, I'll be your lead sponsor." And it's just one of those great stories about, and now he's still doing that for us, and he's been incredible about, I've never had that kind of interaction with someone over email, but you never know who you're talking to, and that's a lesson I've learned, and how important it is to be really genuine and thoughtful when you're meeting with people, and to have strong relationships with people and never take anyone for granted. And so, I think in my profession, the fundraisers that are really good, things like that tend to happen to them. If you're good at your job and you have good relationships, and you're not pushy, you tend to have better success. And then somebody was asking me, who am I looking forward to this year? So if you want to come to the Bankhead, a couple of things. September 7th, so that's our gala with Matthew Morrison. He's a big Broadway star right now. He was on the TV show Glee. October 4th is a show called High Prov with Colin Mokry. Colin Mokry was in a TV show called Whose Line Is It Anyway? I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a kind of an improv TV show. He was one of the big stars of that show, and if you ever watch it, you recognize who he is because he's on it all the time. And he's performing with a hypnotist. So I have no idea what to expect, but I think it's going to be really cool. So it's hypnotism and improv together at the same time. Just don't sit in the front row and you'll be fine. October 25th, there's a performer, singer-songwriter named Todd Snyder who's coming with Ramblin' Jack Elliott. I'm very excited about that one personally. He's one of the great songwriters, American songwriters right now. Kind of a country blues guy. Really funny, really amazing songs. November 8th is a group called the Subdudes. These are all ones I like. You might have other tastes in here. The Subdudes are kind of a mix of blues, jazz, and Zydeco music. Really fun group. They play in Berkeley all the time, and we stole them from Berkeley, so they're out here this year for us. November 23rd, the Harlem 100, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Harlem Renaissance. I think this is going to be an incredible show. December 16th is Danu, Emerald Isle Christmas. So this is a group from Ireland, and they're bringing Irish traditions around Christmas to this performance. They were here last year. It was a really amazing performance. It is not cheesy at all. It is very authentic. It's a lovely show. January 27th is a group called the Choir of Man. They were here last season. One of the best things I've ever seen at the Bankhead Theater. It's an all-male a cappella group. They do a couple of little instruments every once in a while, but one of the things they do is it's kind of like there's a pub on the stage. So they're at a pub. That's kind of like the scene. And before the show, you can go up onto the stage and drink a beer with them. And they have beer. They're serving beer on the stage. It's a lot of fun. But it's a lot of kind of anthem kind of songs, and it feels like a lot of drinking, fun drinking songs. But they're incredibly talented, and it's just a really, really fun show. And then February 21st is also one of my favorite shows, International Guitar Night. If you like guitar, these are virtuosos, mostly acoustic guitar. These guys are incredible, and they change the lineup every year. There's usually one or two that kind of is a recurring person that acts as the host. One year I went backstage, and I was asking one of them for advice on playing guitar for my son who's learning the ukulele. And he looked at my son and he said, okay, what you need to do is you have to get up at 5 o'clock every morning and you have to practice for 12 hours. And that's what these guys, that's how good they are. They blow you away. They're really incredible. I highly recommend that show. And it's just a beautiful theater for acoustic guitar music. So if you like acoustic guitar, that's the one to go to. And then somebody else was reminded me of one other one. What was it? The Beethoven's
Ninth Symphony, September 15th.
Beethoven's Ninth Symphony on September 15th. Is that one the dun 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 dun? Is that the one I'm thinking of? That's the fifth. Sorry. The choral symphony. Sorry, I'm not going to sing up here anymore. All right, so you can learn more. That's my contact information. I have cards up here. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they're dying to know? Anything that I missed? Yes, sir. Oh, very good question. Thank you, Mr. First. So right now, a couple of things you'll notice the next time you go into the Bankhead Theater, the carpet is different. We're replacing all the carpet right now. For the next 2 weeks, the theater is closed as that is happening. And it's part of a larger initiative to make the building more sustainable. It's to make it a green building, and we're trying to get a green certification. So in addition to the new carpet, which is safer and more environmentally friendly, we also are putting solar panels on the roof of the Bankhead Theater this fall. We just signed the contract for that, and we are replacing all the lights in the theater from halogen to LED. And just to give you an idea, the burn rate for some of these LED lights compared to these halogens is about 10% of what the halogens put out. So it's huge savings in energy consumption. We're also going to, we're planning to kind of do some construction with some of the office space to allow in more natural light to make it a better environment for the staff. But you'll notice right away the next time you come, it's going to look a lot different because of the new carpet. And if you're interested, we are still raising money for that project. It's a great project to support. Any other questions? Yes?
How many employees does the Bankhead have?
It varies. So right now there's about, the question is how many employees are at the Bankhead? There's about 12 full-time staff. But on a monthly basis, we're around 24 full-time equivalents, because if you include all of the production staff and the crew, when you add up all that time, it's about 24 a month. Kind of depends on how many offices that we do. It's a good question.
Chris, politics at the beginning, and every once in a while on Nextdoor and some of Letters to the Editor, etc., there's something about, oh, the Bankhead, they're more about performing arts, all our tax dollars going there, and all this. There's been quite a history, I think, but Can you just clarify what the current situation is? Do we have local tax dollars going into Livermore Valley Performing Arts, or is it all?
So that's a good question. And currently, we do not receive any operational support from the city of Livermore. So the question was, do any tax dollars go towards the operation of the bankhead? So technically, no. There's no. We don't get any operational support from the city. However, the city does own the building, and we lease. We have a lease agreement with the city for $1 a year, so I think that's a good deal. So the city does support us in that way, and we do feel like we're partners with the city because of that. But there is no line item in the city budget that puts any dollars towards the operating of the Bankhead Theater. We do apply for and sometimes get grants from the Livermore Arts Commission for certain projects, but it's a relatively small amount, a few $1,000s. Yes.
You forgot to mention Encore Players as one of your residents.
Yes, and the Encore Players are at the Bothwell Arts Center. And if you're interested in, if you like acting, that's a great group. It's an adult acting group.
I'm the chair.
You're the chair. Oh, thank you. Well, there you go. That's who you need to talk to. And they do a nice job, and they help us take care of the Bothwell, by the way, which is a wonderful space. Yes.
Any coordination on a program basis with the firehouse in Pleasanton?
You know, sometimes we do. They're a little bit different model in that they are run by the city of Pleasanton. So they, I think it's a nice space, but a lot of the artists they bring in probably are not the same artists that we would bring in, so we don't quite coordinate that way. We do meet with them once a year and kind of look at who we're booking and make sure we're not competing or hurting each other. And sometimes we do marketing trades with them, so we'll promote one of their things if they promote one of our events. We try to have a good relationship with them. Yes, sir?
Do you have a metric on how you track ticket sales in terms of where the people come from? Like, are the majority of your attendees from 94550 zip code in Livermore, or from outlying areas?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the question is, where are ticket buyers coming from? The majority are from Livermore, about 40%, and then about 60% are from the Tri-Valley region. So if you look at Livermore and Pleasanton, it's mostly Livermore and Pleasanton, is about 60% of our ticket sales. And then after that, it's kind of spotty. You'd think we get a lot from Dublin, but we don't. It's kind of funny. There's a couple of other cities. Danville, I think we sell more tickets to Danville and San Ramon than we do to Dublin. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm not quite sure why they did. Maybe we're not marketing as well in Dublin as we should. But it's mostly Tri-Valley. Good question. Yes, sir?
Over the last 5 years since you've been involved, have you tabulated what have been the most well-attended and the most well-received programs? Do you have any kind of a gut feeling for that, for what the bank has presented?
Yeah, so the question is, so what kind of programs are the most well-received? Well, we do, there's some that we bring back pretty regularly that we know people like. So, for example, Arlo Guthrie is performing again in the spring. And that's, I think it's like his 5th time. This summer we had Keiko Matsui, who, I think she almost sold out, and that was about her 4th or 5th appearance in a row. There's some that we tend to bring back pretty regularly. But as far as what kind of music, it's kind of all over the place. There's really not a genre that is Livermore specific. One thing I'm surprised by is country music does not do as well as you think in Livermore. So we do, people tell me all the time, oh, you need to do more country. And then we book country artists and they don't sell that well. And I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe it's the type of country artist. But country western is a little bit different. So we have Riders in the Sky. They always do pretty well. So it's kind of a guessing game. Right now, Scott Kennison, our executive director, is at a conference in Los Angeles where you meet with agents. I went to this last year, and it's kind of like a speed dating with agents. And you go in this big, huge room, and you have 5 minutes, and you sit down with them, and they have their list of all the people they represent, and you're looking at it, and they say, how big is your space? Where is it? What's your audience like? And then you kind of say, oh, what about this person? Oh yeah, that guy might be available. and what's your price range, what tickets work for you. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And we're presenting somewhere between 40 and 60 a year. So kind of putting that together is a big process. We're very price sensitive. And so for us, there's a certain threshold that we don't go above as far as bringing an artist in. So sometimes someone will give a suggestion. And by the way, I'm very open to suggestions. If you think someone would do well at the Bankhead, we'd love to look at it. In fact, I think this year we booked a piano player, Jason Lyle Black, who John Didley was the first person to say, hey, you guys should look at Jason Lyle Black. He's from Livermore, he's a great piano player. So we do listen. But like I said, we're price sensitive. We don't want to outprice the market here. And we want to make sure people have, but also we want high quality. So I don't know if that answers your question. We look for high quality, affordable performers that are well known. I do know Livermore is not very, doesn't like to take risks. So if we try and present something that nobody's heard of, even it could be really great, but if it's not familiar to people, they're not going to buy tickets. It's not a very risk-taking audience. Some other performing arts centers, like maybe at a college or a university, could take more risks. So you'll see like more eclectic artists, but for us, it's more mainstream. Yes.
The last couple of years, you've put together 4 film presentations, musicals, things
Yes.
like that. I noticed the other theater in town, the Vine Theater, is doing the same thing. Is there enough room for both?
So we do talk to them. So the question was about, because we do present films every other month. We have classic film, and so does the Vine. So is there competition there? And we do meet with the Vine, and we try and avoid doing similar things. So far, they're okay with it. We sell tickets to those movies for $5. For us, it's more about just giving people kind of a different experience in the theater. And it's you go and there's a newsreel and a cartoon, and it just kind of makes you feel like you were a kid again. But yeah, it's a good question. We try to be really sensitive to because we don't want to step on other people's toes that are already doing things. But we also know we have a space and we want to utilize it at its best potential too at the same time.
Yeah, because they've been very well attended at the ones I've been to.
Yeah, it's been pretty successful. We're going to keep doing them.
Good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
A few years ago, you had a raffle for a Tesla.
Mhm.
Scott called the winner live in front of the
Yeah.
audience. She didn't seem to know what she was in for.
Yeah.
Did she take the Tesla?
No, so when we did the car raffle a few years ago, so she took the cash, and she said, because I think it was a Tesla or $60,000, and she took the cash and she donated $10,000 back to the Bankhead, which she promised on that call, and she followed through with it. And she's actually was the mother of one of our artists at the Bothwell, so it's kind of a nice connection.
What happened to the Tesla?
We were off the hook. We didn't have to buy it. Yeah. I will never do that again, by the way. So if you were asking when the next car drawing is, the answer is never. It was very stressful. Okay. Well, I'll be around if anybody needs anything else, and please take some programs. Thank you.